The Time Traveler's Compass. Elliot Graves stood in the cramped attic of his late grandfather's house, sifting through boxes of old trinkets. He had come here to clean up, but now he found himself lost in memories. His grandfather, H.G. Graves, had always been a mysterious man, full of wild stories about ancient treasures and far-off places. Elliot had loved hearing them as a child, but as he grew older, he dismissed them as the fanciful tales of an old adventurer who never grew up. Then, he found Asterisk at Asterisk. A small wooden box, tucked away in the corner, caught his eye. It wasn't much larger than a book, dusty and forgotten. Elliot lifted it carefully, his fingers brushing against the ornate carvings on its surface. A folded note was attached to the top, the paper yellowed with age. To Elliot, it read, "Inside this box is a compass, but not the kind you're familiar with. This one doesn't point north, it points to Asterisk when Asterisk you need to go. Use it wisely, and you'll find me." Elliot's heart raced. His grandfather had vanished years ago, without a trace. Could this be the key to finding him? With a mixture of excitement and doubt, Elliot opened the box. Inside was a brass compass, worn and tarnished, but otherwise ordinary looking. The needle spun lazily in circles, as if it couldn't decide where to point. He hesitated, staring at it, wondering if this was some kind of prank or delusion. But then, something strange happened. The needle stopped spinning and locked onto a direction straight ahead, into the empty space in front of him. Elliot took a breath, and before he knew it, he took a step forward. Suddenly, the air around him twisted. It felt as if he was being pulled through a tunnel, the world stretching and distorting, colors and sounds blending into one. His stomach lurched, and just when he thought he might pass out, it all stopped. He stood, dazed, in the middle of a crowded marketplace. But something was off. The people around him were dressed in flowing robes and sandals. The buildings were ancient, made of stone and marble. As he spun around, he spotted a massive structure on the horizon, Asterisk, the Parthenon, Asterisk. Athens. Ancient Greece. Elliot's legs wobbled as the reality of the situation hit him. The compass had worked. He had Asterisk traveled through time, Asterisk. Before he could fully comprehend it, though, a hand grabbed his arm. Startled, Elliot turned to face a burly man in armor. "You're coming with us," the soldier growled in a language Elliot didn't understand, though somehow, the meaning was clear. Panic surged through him. He tried to pull away, but two more soldiers appeared, boxing him in. I don't belong here," Elliot stammered, but it was no use. They dragged him down the dusty streets, their grip like iron. As they passed through a narrow alley, Elliot's fingers tightened around the compass. His grandfather had warned him, in that brief note there would be danger. He had to act.
The compass vibrated in his hand, the needle spinning again. Without thinking, Elliot jerked free from the soldier's grasp, turned down an alley, and ran. Shouts followed him, but he didn't look back. The compass pulled him forward, guiding him through the maze of ancient streets. He ducked behind a stone pillar, catching his breath. The soldiers' voices grew fainter. For a moment, he thought he was safe. Then, the world shimmered again. He was falling, pulled through time once more. When he hit the ground, Elliot gasped, his lungs filling with hot, dry air. He was in a desert now, endless dunes stretching out in every direction. Nearby, a battered plane sat half buried in the sand, its propeller broken and its wings tattered. "What the hell?" Elliot muttered, brushing sand from his clothes. A voice barked behind him. "You lost, boy?" Elliot spun around to see a man dressed in rugged clothes, his face weathered from the sun. Behind him, a group of rough-looking explorers stood around a campsite. They all stared at Elliot like he was some kind of alien. Yeah," Elliot replied, unsure of what else to say. The man narrowed his eyes. "You're not one of Armitage's men, are you?" Elliot shook his head, having no clue who Armitage was. "No. I don't know what's going on." Before he could explain further, a loud rumble echoed across the desert. Elliot turned just in time to see a cloud of dust rising in the distance, vehicles, coming fast. The man cursed under his breath. "Damn mercenaries. Everyone, get ready. They've found us." Chaos erupted. The explorers scrambled for cover as the vehicles roared closer, kicking up sand and bullets. Elliot ducked behind the plane, his heart pounding. This was no ordinary desert, this was a war zone, and he was caught in the middle. He had to get out of there, fast. The compass, still in his hand, glowed faintly, the needle twitching. Elliot didn't have time to hesitate. He followed the direction it pointed, running through the chaos as gunfire echoed around him. Once again, The world blurred. Time shifted. When he landed this time, the air was cooler, and he was inside a cavern, the walls damp and covered in moss. Torches flickered on the stone walls, casting eerie shadows. In the center of the room stood a figure Elliot recognized instantly, his grandfather. "Elliot," HG said, his voice a mix of relief and exhaustion. "I knew you'd find me." Elliot's heart raced. "What is all this? The compass, it's real? Time travel?" HG nodded, his expression grim. "Yes. And much more. The compass is more powerful than you can imagine. It leads to not just places, but moments in history where the fabric of time is weakest. That's how I've stayed hidden. But there are others who know about it, dangerous people. They'll stop at nothing to control time itself." Elliot's mind raced. "So, what do we do now?" His grandfather smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. "We finished the journey."
With that, HG raised his hand, and the compass in Elliot's pocket began to glow brighter. The needle spun, pointing them toward the next destination, one that neither of them could predict. And just like that, the adventure was far from over.